we take just a minute and talk about Guantanamo?
Yeah.
I am curious. I mean, I've never been there. You know, it was something that, especially at that time, you heard a lot about.
Yeah.
You know, it was politically pretty heated. What was your kind of expectation versus reality of what you'd heard about it and then actually showing up? Like, were there any almost household name guys that you saw there that you were interacting with terrorist-wise? And were there any crazy things that happened that are story-worthy?
So I knew that there were some guys down there, like KSM was down there, but I never saw him. He was in another camp somewhere. Like they had different camps for like, you know, your security clearance levels and stuff like that. I was just, you know, we worked side by side with the Army. They had a camp right next to the one that we worked at. And like within those camps, you know, like I said, guys would, you know, hunger strike and make a point. And it was, you know, Obama had just gotten elected, and his whole thing was like, you know, shutting down Gitmo. So it got like real political real fast, and it got to a point where it was like these prisoners had more. I mean, detainees. We couldn't call them prisoners, right? These prisoners, they had more. I felt like more rights than we did as, you know, being American, you know, military members, you know, and it was like, so we had to go into these cells where these hunger strikers were because they wouldn't come out. And so we had to go in and pull them out. And when we did that, we'd have like a little team, you know, and we'd all like suit up in this body armor. And we'd have to do this 3 times a day, you know, to take them out to tube feed them. And so we'd suit up, you know, the first guy had like a shield, and then, you know, the rest of the guys had like zip ties or whatever. And they would go and they would videotape each one of us and say, this is my badge number, and this is what we're doing. I'm the shield guy. I'm the, you know, second man or whatever. And then, you know, we were told that those videos went straight to D.C., you know, like, because they wanted to know what was going on down there and how we were treating these people. And it was like, dude, if you look at the video, it's like you got these guys that are sitting in the corner because they never fought back either. You know, that was the thing, is they were just doing this to give us a hard time, you know, and make a point. But they're sitting in the corner, and we had to go in this shit-filled room and grab these guys, take them out, you know, strap them in a chair, and then, you know, tube feed them for a half hour, 45 minutes or whatever. And, you know, they would all be in like this big like circle in like the middle of the pod, and they'd just be sitting there hanging out and talking, you know, in their language or whatever. And it got to a point where I was like, man, fuck this. Like, you know what? This isn't just like hangout time. So I turned them around and I put them facing in their cells and had them tube feed like that. They hated me, dude. Like the terrorists, which I was like, good. Yeah. Like, and they called me Shaitan, which means devil in Arabic. I was like, good, man. It's like, if these guys are calling me the devil, then I'm on the right side of the fence here, you know?
Tube feeding wise, do you know, I mean, what's in that? Is it?
It's like protein. They had, what's that stuff called? It was
like Ensure or something?
Ensure,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they just shove a tube down their throat and make them eat.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like in that environment, if they don't want to eat, fuck them. I mean, I don't get the force them to eat thing. Like, if you want to starve yourself to death, that's your call.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I don't get it.
Dude, I thought of so many ways I would kill these guys just walking around, because we had to just do like checks. It was like 30-second checks on each like pod, you know. It was just roving security 24/7, 365, you know, and you had to make sure you checked in on each cell within like 30 seconds to a minute to make sure these guys weren't trying to kill themselves. Like that was the whole point of like being a guard down there. It was like guarding them from taking their own lives, which I think one guy got away with it at a different camp. And I remember that was a big shitstorm. Somehow he got a hold of something sharp, and he cut himself in the middle of the night and just bled out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know who any of them were, or were they all low enough level to where none of their names registered, or you didn't really?
I mean, I never heard their names come up in like, you know, the news or anything like that, or like in any capacity like that. But we had access to like their jacket, so you could read up on them. There was a couple Taliban dudes in there, like legit, and then there were some guys that they just had like, you know, one guy had a tank. and just a bunch of arms dealers and just. But I mean, these guys weren't just like farmers that got rolled up. Like they were legit like nasty dudes, and you could tell, man. Like you look at them in the face, it's like these guys, they're evil.
Yeah. I guess from kind of a big picture standpoint, before you went there and after hearing about it in the news for years, was it what you thought it would be?
No, man. It was like it was like summer camp. They ended up building a legit like FIFA-sized soccer yard for these guys to go play in, and I mean they had all the amenities that you could think of. It's like if I ever get sent to jail or prison, send me to Gitmo, dude, because it was chill for them. They got rec time. I mean some of the guys that were like really bad, it's like okay, you're gonna get put on a pod where you tube feed and you starve yourself or whatever. But like for the most part, if you were on good behavior, man, like you had like it was just a hangout, you know.
Were there ever any uprisings or guys that fought back, like any hairy scenarios?
Oh yeah, I mean it usually came every like 3 months because then that's when like the new guards would come in, like new sailors from like the fleet would come in, and we'd do like turnovers and stuff, and then they'd have. So if it was like the call sign was snowball if somebody was like fighting back, because you'd have to shackle them up to go meet with their lawyer or go to the rec yard or whatever, and sometimes they would fight back. Very rarely did that happen, unless they were pissed about something, which I just started playing games too, man. I was like, all right, well, fuck it. If I have to be here, then I'm just gonna poke at them a little bit too. It was all super subtle, they could never like stick anything to me.
What kind of stuff?
Well, the one thing that I did, so they do prayer call like 5 times a day, right? So during prayer call, you have to turn all the fans off because it's hot as hell down there. So you got fans running in the pods. You got to turn the fans off. You got to turn your radio down so you're not keying up on the radio. And then the main door to each pod is controlled like there's like a guy up in the nest that's opening doors, and they'll unlock it and you can hear the lock retract and the door will open, but when during prayer call you couldn't do that. It was like you don't want to disturb these guys, and so and we would have like 30-minute shifts. It's like 30 minutes up top, 30 minutes on the bottom, just roving security, and then like a 30-minute break. Well, if their prayer call was at like 4:28, then you were expected to be back by 4:25 to relieve your guy, and if you weren't, then you had to wait another 15 minutes for these guys to finish their prayer call so somebody could come in and relieve you, and that got annoying too when people would just intentionally not show up or be late, and it's like, now I'm here for another 15 minutes. I was counting on you to relieve me, and now I've only got a 15-minute break or whatever. And so I say that to say this. During prayer call, we would have to open up their little bean holes where we feed them chow, because you got your imam and then you got your prayer caller, and they would call prayer through these bean holes. And then when you went to shut it, like you had to stick the key in, retract the lock, and then shut the thing, because they're heavy locks. And because it's too loud and you don't want to disturb them. So I was like, fuck that, man. So one day I had it, and I'm doing roving security on the bottom, and we had like a new guards come in, and we were just doing the turnover with them, and I had already been there for probably like 15 months, and the prayer call had ended. And usually when the prayer call ends, you look in and they'll like be like, okay, thumbs up, like you can politely shut my trap door now. Well, dude, without breaking stride, I just walked by and I slammed this fucking thing as hard as I could, and it was like lightning struck the pod. They went nuts. They were like flooding their toilets with their flip-flops. They were, it was like monkeys, dude. It was like they were started smearing shit on the walls, banging on the doors. It erupted. And they're like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? I was like, oh, that guy had like a cup of shit. I thought he was going to throw it at me. I had to shut the door real quick. And You know, because they make these little cocktails. It's like, you know, cum and shit, and they'll like throw it at you. You know, these people are like subhuman level pieces of shit. You know, and so I was just, and I had it, so I just slammed that thing, and after that, they pulled me off the pod. I was like, man, I wish I would have thought of that earlier. But yeah, every few months they would have like, you know, a snowball was like if one guy started flipping out and fighting back, and then a blizzard was if the whole pod was like, you know, trying to kill themselves or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. Man, that's fucking wild.